And we do have two wonderful speakers, Jahid Asgarov and Tarkan Batgun. Please join me here on the stage. Thank you. They are going to talk about data and scouting in regional markets. So please welcome them.
Welcome again, everybody. Now I have a fantastic guest all the way from Azerbaijan, Neftchi Baku. Huh? Well, I'll give you a little bit of a background about this nice gentleman here. Started as a freelance scout, then analyst, then match analyst. I'm assuming if I'm saying this correctly. Then you've been part of the Neftchi Baku since 2023. A lot of live scouting, a lot of data, and now here you are, and you are one of the experts in Azerbaijan football, which is actually rising at the moment, and hopefully Neftchi as well. And well, firstly, coming from a freelance scout and getting into a big club. First, what I'd like to know is how did this process of going into a club and living your life now organically? How did that period happen? Because you have a coaching background also.
Hello, everyone. Yes, the life is full of surprises. I started playing football professionally. I had to stop it at a very young age because I chose some other direction in life, but I never stopped being in football. So I have always been watching any game you can see on TV or live, analyzing, watching a football game as a maybe the person at the bench. I know you left, but I'm a die-hard football manager player. I've been playing it since the very first edition, and I've been always into analytic stuff, scouting. I have always been supporting my friends in football business with my knowledge and how limited they could be in Azerbaijan reality, because if you know, Azerbaijan football has started a fresh start, and the growing essence of the regional football. So first it was just a country with its own league, its own transfers, its championship, but now we are more heading towards the European standards. Now we have a very small how to say, well, now we cannot risk. We have a very small margin of mistakes to make, both in scouting and in football industry. You can see the Azerbaijan as a part of the regional market where the interest is growing from Europe, scouts coming to watch the matches, and the growing interest from even really very very famous European clubs. I know they have interest in players in the Azerbaijan league. When I started to work at Neftchi, really it was first it was a really big surprise and a big honor for me, because working at a big club has always been a dream since childhood. But when you really step into the club's office, you can feel the history in every stone. You can feel the pressure, and you think to yourself that what can I do to be useful for such a big club? What can I do? What should I do? But when you dive into the everyday routine and you see the very professional staff surrounding you, and you are getting some small results in your work, it's a little bit exhilarating, and you are beginning to get a little bit relaxed, not so scared anymore. So you want to do more. Maybe in a couple of years you want people talk about you, what you have done for your club, not what you have done for yourself as a scout. I never think about making myself a better scout. No, I want to be more useful for the club that pays me. At the end of the day, I have a contract with the club. I'm a club employee, and I put my effort and my knowledge into what I deem useful for the functioning of the club. Its transfer policy, its transfer strategy. I feel as a part of this system. It's not freelancing anymore. You feel the responsibility that you have to pay back the club what they have invested in you. It's a huge responsibility. I can feel it in every day, and I just trying to act in a corresponding way, putting all my knowledge, expertise, and strengths, and never thinking about having a rest. Not a day.
Well, I want to know how the political pressure is, because I'm not sure whether there is a political pressure, or I should say, the president's pressure, sports director's pressure, agency's pressure, or the coach wants a particular player you don't like, or you guys in the department decided that this is the player, and the coach says no, and no reasoning. So what do you do in those kind of scenarios?
Yes, thank you. First of all, name of the club. It's the biggest pressure, but it's a pressure in a good way for me. So you feel that you are working for a big club, and you have support of the club that is the biggest in the country. I don't feel the particular pressure from the management because our management is trying to do everything best possible for us to work in a good environment. But as you mentioned, there can be some pressure maybe from agencies. I wouldn't call it a pressure because I always build my communication and build my relationship with agencies, agents, and player representative in a way that we respect each other. I never do the thing for the sake of doing things. I'm always direct with the agents, even if they offer some player to me. I always say that I watch every single player. It doesn't depend if he plays in some fifth division in Europe or it's a Super League star. I watch everyone because I want to have an opinion about every single player that goes through this process. About the coaches and the transfer policy, it's a little bit complicated, I think it's the case in each country, in each club. Sometimes coaches want more power, more say in transfers. It's natural. I can understand at the end of the day, the coach that is responsible for the result and he wants his squad built according to his requirements, yes, and playing philosophy. But my humble opinion is that there should be the general understanding that coaches must focus more on the training process, on game management, on player management, on managing the atmosphere within the team, and the recruitment department should do the technical work for this. So if you understand the coach's playing philosophy, if you have a good communication with the coach, you feel no pressure, you have no difficulties in scouting the players that would suit the playing style of the coach or of his team. Of course, if there is miscommunication or there is lack of communication between the recruitment staff and the coaching staff, it can create problems in the process. I cannot say that we haven't faced. Everyone who works as a scout or as a recruitment officer knows that sometimes it's a little bit difficult to deal with coaching staff regarding the player roles, player positions, suitability of the player, adaptation of the player into the club's or team's style, environment. We do more detailed work compared to the coaches. The recruitment staff is going through the details the coaching staff maybe don't even know about. They don't generally work with data. Of course, they do analytical work, but in data in scouting, it differs a little bit for me because
How do you actually use Comparisinator? Because you've been a Comparisinator user for a long time. So what makes your job better? So how does it help you?
Yes.
Since you talked about this.
Yeah, I can say that here I'm one of the maybe for the first user of Comparisinator in our country, if I'm not mistaken, at the club level. But I always prefer to working with software or platforms that are really, really comfortable to use in my way. So I love when I have everything in one platform, everything at hand that I can use the tools. I can play with filters. I can dive into the details. And when I master the platform, it doesn't matter it's Comparisinator or some other data provider or maybe some other site. I think I gain the knowledge that the others don't know about. It's not about the
Like what?
But yes, when you dive into the details, you know what specific filters you can set to find the player that you need. Some other people use it in a different way. Maybe some other clubs use it just maybe for analytical purposes, for data. I use the data itself for first creating my own filters, changing constantly to see if I am not mistaken in setting up those filters. So I filter my filters. And I love playing with these parameters. And if I see the end result is really, really satisfying, so I know that I have done a job in this direction that brings more usability. So for me, it's a very, very handy tool in my everyday work. I have always Comparisinator open on my laptops, and but I have difficulties because when I move from my laptop to the desktop, you have to log out and log in, so it can be tricky. And yesterday we were talking about saving the filters. That would be a very nice.
Yes, we are working on
it.
We are working on it.
Yes, because the filters is everything for me. I have to save them and to see what filters I need for specific positions and specific playing styles, because I love Comparisinator for this information about playing styles. So
right, nice. So sorry if I'm interrupting you. We will introduce one more panelist who is going to join. So we're going to have even more interactive.
After this.
No, but we're going to do it now in this
Okay.
moment, if you don't mind.
Yes, of course.
All right, we are sorry.
No problem.
Slightly lacking of time, so you can sit from Tarkan's right
Mr.
side.
President Işıtan Gün.
Give applause for them. So now conversation is going to be even more engagement and even more interesting, so
Okay.
enjoy.
Well, welcome back, dear President.
Thank you.
Dear former chairman, I should say. Being in ground zero of Fortuna Sittard in Eredivisie, which was in Eerste Divisie, and spent 9 long years. Now the team was just about to qualify for Conference League. So I'm just wondering about this story first, because the club, one of the oldest club,
It's the first professional club.
first professional
Dutch
club,
football,
right?
yes.
And how did this club inspire you first to rescue? Because the club was financially gone, about to disappear.
Yes.
So you noticed this and the desire to manage such a thing. So how did it happen in this 9-year period, please?
Of course. I mean, it's there's a chance of coincidence in life. By the way, all in these 9 years, of course, I had my white hair. uh, Working in football, you either lose your hair or it becomes white. So
Yeah, like me.
yes. So no, the story started in 2012 actually, because I was the chief financial officer of Galatasaray. At that time, the financial fair play rules were introduced by the UEFA. So of course, I read the regulations, and it was clear that we had a lot of difficulty to comply with those regulations. So I went to our chairman at the time and I said, like, listen, we have to change our way of working. And in addition to all the financial measures that we can apply, we should probably also seek a way to cooperate or maybe even acquire a club in Europe, probably more than one in lower divisions, so we can also gather good talent at affordable terms, but also create some commercial opportunities in Europe, because there's a huge Turkish diaspora in Europe and 70% of them are supporters. So he agreed to this idea. We moved on. We put together a small team to basically this is, by the way, before where all these club accusations and private ownership in football accelerated. So I was conducting the financial and legal due diligence of these clubs. Anyhow, this is football, so suddenly the board at Galatasaray left. They decided not to run again in the
I'm going to
elections.
ask you a very important question on that one.
Yeah,
Be
absolutely.
ready.
Yes. So then what happened is the incoming board, of course, did not agree with this idea, but I had my contacts, etc. And when I was doing this business modeling, financial analysis of smaller clubs, I realized that if you run a club well, there's a good business case. Anyhow, I parked the idea in my head. And a few years later, I was having coffee with a lawyer friend of mine, and he received a call from Netherlands, and he said, "Oh, I just read in the paper that there's a club in second division. They are going bankrupt. They are looking for an investor." So I was interested. I said, like, "Can I see the information, and maybe I will do it?" So in 2 weeks, I went for a site visit and I took over the club. This is 2016. Of course, I was welcomed by headlines in newspapers saying,
Işıtan Başkan, I'm just
who is this
wondering,
crazy guy?
did you do the financial investigation, because you're a finance person? Did you do this auditing process yourself?
Yes, of course, but a very short time, because we had only 2 weeks of time.
So in 2 weeks' time, you did entire auditing.
Yes, if I knew all the facts, I wouldn't go.
So did anything come out like the way that you didn't?
Small things here and there, of course, there are always skeletons.
Or everything was correct?
No, nothing was correct. The club had 2 employees, not even training balls, no training facility, nothing. So I ran the club
I would say 20 hours a day for 3 years myself. But looking back, I think I was lucky because there was no structure, so you can build it the way you want.
Okay.
It's very difficult to change an existing organization to another direction.
So you didn't do restructuring, you just did it all from the beginning.
Yes, we really had 2 employees, one part-time. So basically, the first it was July. Basically, whoever was willing to come and play was in the team. At that time, there was relegation from second division, and we were saved by literally one game. Now there is no relegation from second division. Anyhow, the second season we had the chance to put together the squad, and we promoted with the youngest team and lowest budget in Dutch football history.
What was I'm just out of curiosity, what's the lowest budget in, for example, Eerste Divisie those days?
In those days, I don't think this record has still been broken, but we promoted with a total squad budget of 2.7 million euros.
Far out.
I mean, then of course, if we promoted a bit earlier than we expected, obviously, then it brings other challenges, organizational challenges, operational, financial challenges, etc. So it was a very difficult period because when you promote like that, you are shown as the number one relegation candidate every year. But it's been 9 years, and we are one of the 6 clubs who have been longest in the top division in Eredivisie. But those days we had like 500 visitors in the matches, like no, the fans, everybody gave up. Now we play every game 96% occupancy. We have a stadium of 12,500 people, so every game is sold out. Commercial revenues increased. I think our turnover increased more than tenfold in 9 years. So that's my
Well,
short story.
being a president, because as you know, in Turkey, usually presidents are the last decision makers in this player trade, I should say. They are the last party to approve everything or not. So is it a similar strategy happening in Holland?
I don't think this is a Turkish problem. I wouldn't even say it's a problem. It's just cultural reality, Mediterranean, Balkan type of mentality. There's a presidential system and he decides on everything. But because I suffered from this at Galatasaray, I wrote down our corporate governance structures myself.
Okay.
I made clear about who can decide on what. And after I gave up the executive position, I took 6 months to hire a CEO for the club. After so many candidates, a lot of discussions, etc., because I had to feel right. But the day he started his position, I gathered all the club personnel in a room, and I said, starting today, you stop calling me for anything except for having a beer or coffee. This is your boss. And from then on, I never ever interfered in any operation.
What about the transfers?
Never. No, we said this is the wrong thing to do. Look, if you accountability comes with responsibility, right?
Yes.
If you are making a decision, you have to be held responsible for it. So our job, I think a board of directors job is to set your budget. Then you have a discussion with your sporting director. This is your budget. Yeah, spend it the way you want. But if you are successful, this is what we expect from you. Of course, this is not an out of blue discussion. I mean, I think Yuri left. He talked about predictions, etc. I was going to push back. Predicting one game, nobody can do. With all respect, if you can predict a game, you should be making billions, not doing anything else. But you can predict the league. You can predict the season. Maybe you can even not predict one season, but you can definitely predict 3 seasons. So this is a matter of. There's a great book by an American mathematician called The Numbers Game. I highly recommend it in football. So I made a regression model about past 20 years of squad budgets and the number of points collected in the Dutch league. So I know how much €1, how many points €1 should earn. So since we set our budget, let's say it's X million euros, I sit down with our sporting director and I say, look, this is our budget. Normally you should get 33.7 points with this money.
So it's a pretty much performance conversion to
Yes,
euro value.
Yes, but this is how, with this money, you should get, let's say, 33 points. I expect 15% more from you. So 40 points is your target. If you overachieve, you will get a bonus. If you don't achieve, you're done. This is it.
That's a very factual thing to do.
Full independence, like never interfere with the signings, never with the coaches, etc. I only see the coach or the team first day of the league. I go say good luck, and last match of the season, I go say thank you for efforts, thank everyone who's leaving, and wish a good summer. This is, in my experience, this is like a clarity because you want to eliminate the gray areas. Gray area, what is gray area is the biggest problem in football. What is a gray area? Gray area is this. You are my chief scout. You sign a player, but it's never, there is no paper trail. The player becomes great. You declare yourself a hero. It's a flop. You are nowhere to be found. I don't want this. I want your signature to sign off on every decision.
If the player is good, the coach is good.
Yes.
Yes.
If the player is bad, chief scout is bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
This
I
is
think
life.
This is the life.
we touched this subject. I think the most important person, in my opinion, in a club is the sporting director.
Mm.
If you look at the salaries of sporting directors and chief scouts, they've been rising, but the coach salaries are going down. And I mean, for some reason, in certain cultures, this is a taboo. Like, who makes the transfers? I'm sorry, but the club makes the transfers, not the coach. This is clear, and we always have to be very open about this. This doesn't mean that you go and sign players that the coach hates. Of course, he can provide input, feedback, and eventually he has to give his approval, hopefully. But we don't know if the coach will be there after 8. I think we saw that the average tenure of a coach is 8 months. So I make this example. In my opinion, a sporting director is a chef. If you have a restaurant, the chef decides on pricing, the decoration, the ambience,
Even the taste.
of course the taste, but also procurement. You know,
Who's gonna work?
the cooks. You give him the supplies,
The ingredients and
yes.
the cooks.
For me, a coach is a cook, but sporting director is a chef. He makes or breaks your club. Period.
Well, I mean, you have been one of our most important user in Comparisinator.
Sure.
And I'm just, after this talk, I'm just thinking that you used Comparisinator platform like a kind of a insurance policy. I'm assuming.
Insurance policy. Actually, in the decision-making process, I use it like this. You know, I'm obviously not a non-dominant person. I'm quite dominant in business, but I'm ready to be convinced otherwise. So if I suggest, or let's say our sporting director, you have to sometimes resolve crisis situations. Let's say your sporting director wants to sign this player, but the coach says no. So only in this case, I would get them in a room, no phones, nothing. And I would say, why are you suggesting this player?
Okay.
I'm an idiot. I know nothing about football. Why are you suggesting this player? You have to substantiate it. Your personal subjective feeling means nothing to me. And I tell to the coach also, why are you objecting this player? Your subjective opinion, maybe you had a fight with your wife this morning. Maybe you had a very bad day. Maybe your father died. I cannot rely on these kind of decisions. So you have to, how do you convince that? It has to be an undisputable fact, which you can only rely on data. That's it. So of course, in that sense, it is an insurance policy, but it takes away all these subjectives because come on, we've always been in football. Sometimes I would object to a player that you suggested because you objected to a player that I suggested 3 months ago. These personal things make a big difference in football.
Well, in the end, the humans will always be on top of the ladder in this because there's a massive discussion about AI taking over, and but my opinion, I'll take over from there, and the human beings um, need to truly study more to what they can get out from the AI.
Yes.
And studying from today, I advise all of you. So all of you, just can you keep an eye contact with me? All of you, just small eye contact with me. Everybody, come on, wake up. Come on, wake up, everybody. Just look at me. Thank you. Just for 2 minutes, because this is a very important subject for all of you. Indeed, I have been, now I'm over 55 years old, but I have been a true student to understand the AI and the machine learning process. Because us humans are teaching the AI what to do. But they are learning everything much faster than us. So therefore, you all need to speed up. First, try to understand the numbers. So, for example, what we did, often I talk about this, interpreting the numbers. The new era in data is called contextual information. Contextual information means it goes inside a data set and explains you in human language the way you can translate. So therefore, you must understand this process. Secondly, well, obviously, I get these questions a lot. So will robots take over someday? Well, unfortunately, it will. Why? Because humans mainly use the AI for negative things. Negativity, the wars, the drones. But again, the humans are the ones who develop the defense mechanisms. So, in context of football, right? Coaches' knowledge usually lack. Why? Okay, how do you become a coach? So you're a normally football player 85% of the time. And when you're playing football, what kind of mathematics do you follow? Not much. You agree?
Yeah.
In most cases,
Yes.
the coach is not really qualified to understand the data game in normal circumstances.
Yeah.
And the new generation coming, which is a Z generation, much younger ones, from 18 to, let's say, 29 to 30. And that generation learned how to dig into data.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to this in several ways. First of all, uh, if you are running let's say, mid-size or smaller club, you cannot replicate what the big guys are doing and beat them in their own game. So you have to be creative. That's why we were early adopters in many of these things. For example, In 2018, we were the first club to have a mobile app in the Netherlands. I was the first club to install a full coverage Wi-Fi access in the stadium for the whole
Fan experience.
100% occupation. We had less than 1,000 average at that time, and people laughed at me because they thought we were wasting money. But it doesn't work like this. But I agree with you. I was listening to the CEO of Google the other day, and he says, look, one day, and it's not a very distant future, the occupation of being a doctor will end because AI already can scan 10,000 X-rays every day, whereas a X-ray specialist today can only see maybe 50. So you cannot raise this. But nursery will never die. Caretaking will never die.
Because
So
there
it's
will
a
be
similar
always sick
thing.
people.
Yes. So will football be dominated by AI? Maybe decision making is, but I draw this analogy with chess. In chess, every possible game is simulated. No matter how many trillions of combinations there are, it is there. It's just a numbers game. You can also slice football 90 minutes in 1 second intervals. You have 22 players and one ball. This is also a finite number. So at one point, every possible football game will also be simulated. But as long as people play that game, it will never take over. It's not
Well,
It has.
AI will never cope with chaos.
yeah.
AI will never cope, in my opinion, the last minute. AI in a good moment, right? Who's gonna pour the whiskey? There will be a human doing it. You were saying something?
Oh, yes. Mr. President mentioned about the subjective opinion. I just wanted to mention that if you look into the history of football, the most talented and the greatest really players have been discovered in the result of a subjective opinion. That's why I was mentioning yesterday that as scouts at clubs, they shouldn't look for biggest talents or maybe next Ronaldo's, next Messi. They will come. You should look for a player that fits into your playing system, that answers your specific needs, but not to prove yourself as a good scout that I have discovered a big talent.
Absolutely. Look, the whole business model of football is about not dying because clubs are very long term organizations. A club doesn't go extinct very quickly, it's a social organization. You just have to survive another day. This is like if you look at successful traders in financial markets, they always try to minimize big risks, not maximize the high.
profit.
As you said, exactly one day it will hit you. You will hit the lottery one day. So, but you have to limit your
Survive up
downside.
until
That
then.
is why when I interview a scout candidate or when I talk to an agent, because I get, of course, as we all do, every day 100 next Messi's, 50 new Ronaldos. I always say, tell me about your past wrong decisions. I don't want to hear how you identified Haaland when he was in Salzburg. I want you to hear all the other 99 recommendations you made, which led to nothing. How did you make those decisions? This is more important to me than everybody can identify Haaland. So we should, confirmation bias is something that we are very prone to get captured with. You know, we also, I think some fellow panelists also spoke about how a player's career developed after going amateur, etc. Well, that's fine, but we only hear about the successful cases. We don't hear about 99.9% of the failed cases because they are nowhere.
Yeah, I trust when people admit mistakes. I trust this person more than he talks about his achievements.
Do we have time to ask if there's any question? Is there any questions?
Let's do it briefly. Is there any questions from your side? Would you like to add, comment something on this interesting conversation?
No.
I guess you said everything. So thank you very much. One more round of applause for our panelists.